AI is taking the stock market by storm. You could see what investors are talking about today, but is it possible that we are now in a downtrend? How will this affect your retirement account? I want to talk about Elon Musk, Tesla, and so much more. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. In today's video, we are going to look at Tesla stock going down to $14. Is that possible? I know many people would say absolutely not. If you saw in the run up that Tesla experienced years ago, there were constantly new calls of Tesla being pushed higher and higher and higher. 5,000, 10,000, 15,000. Why not? The sky is the limit. But now we say $14. Oh no, that's not possible. Well, of course, I don't know what's going to happen. This is just one analyst. I'll show you what he said. But before that, I want to make something very clear. If you see Tesla's stock over the years, it was at a certain place, and then from 2019 into like 2021, the stock went straight through the roof. And you have to start thinking about what made that happen. Why did that actually take place? Was it because the company fundamentally changed from 2019 into 2020? Was it? Was it because they sold way more cars in 2019 than they did in 2020? Or could it be that it's all generated by the whole hype, by the whole idea that this is the next big thing, this is the next hot thing? As you see today, investors are jumping onto the AI trend, SMCI, NVIDIA, and so on. Well, this is what happens. Yes, it could be a strong company. It could deserve a higher price than where it is. But when you start to get all of this attention, you better watch out. Things could actually end much worse than where we believe. And usually people get in always at the peaks. Even if we experience higher and higher peaks, we usually end up at one of those peaks because it's all based on psychology. Noted Tesla bear says Musk's EV maker could go bust and the stock is worth $14. It could go bust. They could go bankrupt. That's what he's saying. The interesting part about all of this, of course, is it's coming from a company that's shorting Tesla. So obviously they have a reason to say this. Yeah, they might have the facts behind it and saying why. But let's just always be clear of where we're getting our information from. All right. Now, I want to know what you think. Do you believe that this car company will go bankrupt? I want to know what you think in the comments below. Now, this is it. Tesla's robo-taxi unveil on 8/8. So we'll have to wait a few months to see what happens. But this is a robo-taxi. Now, what did we hear about robo-taxis back in 2019, maybe even a little bit before that? We were told there would be 1 million robo-taxis on the streets in 2020. That was repeated over and over and over and over again. And your friend, Kathy Wood, continuously pushed that as a reason why they would increase their potential stock price for Tesla. Oh yeah, it's going to be huge. It's going to be massive. Well, that was based on robo-taxis. Yes, among, other things, but the robo-taxis was the big one because it would increase the value of every Tesla. So they're going to sell it to you at 80 grand, 50,000, whatever it was, but it would continuously go up in value. This magical vehicle would start to generate income for you. Now, that may happen at some point in the future. But is that happening today as we're in 2024? What do we know about the calls from all of these analysts as well as people like Elon Musk? They say things and they don't come to fruition, or they take way longer than they do. Look at the supposed full self-driving on vehicles today. Full self-driving, we're not there. We're not there. Okay, and in area, like they need to have, if it's on a track, if it's on a highway, you got a guardrail on one side and you got lines on the road painted on the other side, and it could do it, no problem. But if you were to say, for instance, be in a area where there's snow on the ground, you got all kinds of messed up stuff. You got construction. The lines are painted over. There's no lines. This thing doesn't work today. It doesn't work at all. It's very dangerous, in fact. And so this is something that won't be overcome at any point in the near future. They have to work on that. I'm not sure how they're going to do this, but they're not there yet. And here we are, 2024. So when is it going to be? 25, 26, 27? I don't know what's going to happen on 8/8, but don't hold your breath. That's all I'm trying to say, because that was the reason why they pushed this stock. So when we look at other stocks, don't forget about Tesla. Look at other stocks and start to open your mind. Tesla and Apple's China sales plunge as Chinese told to ditch Western products. Chinese are going more with Huawei. They're going with the electric vehicles that China is now producing. So you got to understand how things are changing rapidly, and for better or for worse, you can, figure that out. But the point is, this is what's happening. And the demand, remember, just because the company is an American company or it's a company out of France, where are their customers, or where's a large customer base? If they're heavily reliant on China, you got to watch out, especially if you start adding the tariffs and all this stuff. They're going to go back and forth again. That's going to start. Be careful what you wish for. The everything rally comes to the derivative market. Ah, yes, the derivative market. I wrote my first book and talked extensively about derivatives in that book. So you've heard me talk about it, but all I wanted to highlight is the fact that there is this craze, this euphoria that takes place in every cycle. And during that time, we get craziness. Whether it's the CDOs, okay, remember those from 2007, 2008? Ridiculous. The CLOs, which then came afterward, collateralized loan obligations. What is that? What is that stuff? Well, a lot of that is just a bunch of garbage that they've taken. They wrap it up with a little bow on top, and then they sell it off to investors. It's kind of a nice thing, right? It's totally cool until it fails, and then it becomes absolutely disastrous. Okay, here we go. Average returns aren't normal. Normal returns are extreme. Stock markets are positive 73% of the time. And so this comes from an article, I'll show you the full article in a second, from Real Investment Advice. They are very sound, very balanced, and I have been reading their articles for years and years. I interviewed Lance Roberts, the head of Real Investment Advice, at some point, and I have to say, when I look at the information, I know that it is very trustworthy. And they had put this together, and I think if people don't understand this, you're never going to be a good investor. Let's look at it quickly. Cumulative total real return percentage of $1,000. So this is percentage terms. All right. The point that he's trying to make here is that when we look in percentage terms, it can go up an infinite percent, but it can only go down a maximum of 100%. So look how skewed we look. We go back from 1904. Okay, all the way back to today. And it looks kind of, hey, well, look at those gains. Fantastic, right? And it's true. As they said, stock market's up 73% of the time. So you don't want to be always betting against the market. You will not win. But look what they say here. When we talk about it in points, suddenly it looks a lot different, doesn't it? Cumulative bull versus bear markets in points. And there's what we notice, number one, and by the way, Finance Friday, shout out to my Finance Friday live crew, because we've talked about this before, but I have these charts for you, okay? So remember what I said. You don't fight against that market that's up the majority of the time. But what do we know about bear markets? They are generally short. They are generally very violent. So in terms of points, you got to look at that. In the example here, if I put the mouse over it, just look at this example. So all of these years, I guess that would be, let's say, 1980, all the way through into probably 2000. So the market gains 2287. But it crashes down 1200 in a period of, whatever, a year or something. So, and then again, it happens for financial crisis 2008. It went up 856, took years to get there, and instantaneously loses 1100 points. So you got to realize how quickly things can change. So you got to be aware of this as an investor. You got to hedge your bets, and you've got to not always think that markets continuously go up forevermore. They do go up. As long as you're willing to devalue the currency, they will go up. But you got to position yourself appropriately. People are taking way too much risk. Way too much risk. Understand something, the average and the actual returns are not the same. You are constantly being told you're going to make 7 to 10% a year. And by the way, if you're parking cash long-term as like a, quote unquote, long-term savings account, and you're putting that in the S&P 500, that's one thing. If you're trying to actually make money in the stock market, like you're trying to grow, like say you got a small pile and you're trying to grow that to a big pile, that is not, you're not playing the right game. You should be on my Sunday Business Live. Okay, there's no question about that. So this just shows us promise versus reality. And essentially, there is a massive gap. If you could see that orange section at the bottom, there's a huge gap in between what we're being told. So just keep that in mind, okay? For everybody who wants to know more information about this, I've got a free course, totally free course. It's called Compass, themoneygps.com/compass. You go through there. Once again, people ask me all the time, what's the website? themoneygps.com/compass. Or you can just go to themoneygps.com, click on that first button. That's Compass. And basically, it's totally free financial education for everybody. No, there's no paywall. No, there's no email you got to put in. No, you don't go in there and then you get spammed and I try to get you to upsell and all this stuff. It's just a bunch of videos on a website. I hope that you will find it interesting and you'll let me know. Hit that thumbs up button on the way out. Doing so helps to support this channel. All right. And I hope that you'll come back tomorrow. I get messages every day or, at least a couple a week telling me that they need to either look up my name specifically, look up my channel name. They don't see the videos in their feed anymore. Something to this effect. You have to come and find me. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. I'll see you back tomorrow. Take care.